am so excited to be joined today with author Beth Roose, the author of The White House Code, and Morgan King, and they have some fun surprises in store for us. Beth, Morgan, thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having us. Yes.
Oh my gosh, such a pleasure. Absolutely such a pleasure. And I know you have all sorts of stuff, but Beth, catch us up first a little bit about the book and Morgan.
Well, I'll save the best for last. The book itself, it is, I'll try to summarize it really reduced. It is a book along the lines of National Treasure, with where they went out and were looking for various codes within like the Constitution and such. This is along the same lines, only we're looking for codes to generate the planetary defense system to shield the planet Earth from a star that is going supernova in the Orion star system. So those codes have been hidden in White House China. So the past president's White House China. There are, Morgan in the book is the kind of the lead character or actor, if you will. And in the book, he is a Nobel laureate, and he is also a physician.
Life imitating art.
There we go. And then Marcia, his book wife, she's a real spitfire and keeps him on his toes. But at any rate, they have to figure out not only the codes to input into the actual access system, they have to find out where those access points are. So they're in a quest. Merlin from, Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur, he has helped them and give them ideas of where to start looking, but it is against prime directive of because he is an immortal to tell mortals exactly how to do things. They can give you hints, but anything beyond that is against prime directive. Kind of the Star Trek can't protocol. So that, in a nutshell, is the book. It is a big adventure filled with lots of fun things, and then things that twist that you would never guess. So it has been interesting to do the research on this book, almost eerily crazy. So it's almost like I am looking for this code. Yeah. So it's been fun, but
I mean, maybe the code is really there.
It almost seems like it. When I get into this, I'll tell you, but Morgan and I went to high school, into the same high school. So we're Woodridge alumni, and Marcia is as well. Bev Grissom from the Grissom Farm, she is also an alumni too. So I did write a
like high school reunion in a book.
Yeah, I did write. I had a Woodridge person ask me in a private email if I would put them in the book this time, and you probably know who I'm talking about. And so his name's Don Trodell. He wanted to be like Morgan, and this guy, no. So, but he is fun. I'm not saying anything bad. He's a fun kind of guy and a free spirit. So I've made him the head of security, which is kind of like Secret Service for Morgan. Because he's won 3 Nobel Prizes for his DNA CRISPR technology. And so, people have tried to knock him off. So we have to provide security. But at any rate, that's, like I said, we've just connected through Facebook and through friends, and one led to the other, and
here we are.
Here he is.
And here we are, and working on the research for a book on the White House China. And now, the research. How do you research White House China? I mean, is there like, can you look at pictures online, or?
There are pictures online, yes. However, I know people, and
I
and
know.
they actually sent me the actual china. This is George Washington's plate that Morgan has.
Oh,
And in while doing the research, I'm going to try not to touch it. We're not allowed to touch it because of the oil. But there is a snake that goes around, and it swallowed its tail. That's what's on the rim of it.
oh, wow. And
That means cyclical life. And so that's what, anytime you see a snake that swallowed its tail, it's a symbol for cyclical life. The other thing that's on here is the 15 states at that time.
okay.
And then there are 15 on this gold starburst. There are 15 points to represent the 15 states. In the circle is Martha Washington's, her letters, her initials are in there.
I thought it was Morgan Washington.
Yeah, that's it.
Washington, yes.
And so, when doing this, it's unique because, here we're trying to track down the codes for a star that's about to burst. And what's in there but a starburst? So it's unique. One of the things that they talk about is, the elements. Merlin talks about, because he is an elemental, and he also, in all of the literature about him, and, of course, he tutored King Arthur, but he was also had capabilities of being invisible. He had capabilities that allowed him to shapeshift. He also had time travel capabilities, and he's an immortal because he is an elemental. He is mostly, his blood is mercury. So that's good to know. But, gold is the number one element. And, Merlin went through all of the elements, which.
So wait, let me just before you go on, because I'm in a little bit of awe. So Morgan is actually holding in his hand. You're both nodding your heads where this is going. George
Yeah,
Washington.
it's all labeled on the back. It's got a number, so they can't say I didn't get it or they didn't give it to me. So yeah, that's good.
Oh my gosh! You got to tell me a little bit. How did you get this? And
No, I know somebody. So the person I know worked for the Reagans.
like a FedEx box? Like, how does this?
No, it came, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm just glad.
Armed guards brought this.
Armed guards brought this here.
Honestly, from Washington, and they will be back to pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, let's tell them where I live too.
It's 134 Maple Street, Toledo.
So anyway, but yes, when I first opened the box, I literally had to go sit down. I was shaking so much. I was so afraid to touch it that, it was very difficult. I have to say, don't push it close to the edge. So it was really hard to open it. And it took me almost 2 hours because I would unwrap two and pull them out. And then I'd be shaking so bad and I was afraid I was going to drop it. I would literally take a breath and go sit down until I quit shaking. And then I would, open it. And so that took several hours. So now I'm over it. And I'm over it, although I still get a little edgy about it. So
The one that got me is this Lincoln teacup,
Oh,
because, you eat off a plate, but Lincoln's lips and his little whiskers actually touched this.
oh my goodness.
See, so
That is gorgeous. Look at that with the bald eagle and the symbols.
the presidential emblem.
Yes, beautiful.
and
Oh,
lots of gold again.
now does each president is it kind of like when you register for China? Like how do they pick this China? Do you
So it's the first ladies that pick the china, and The president has input on if he likes it or not. Okay, so now anyone who's married would know never to say, I don't like it,
Yes.
if they've been trained well. So they do have an input into this, but very little. I will say that 23 of the US presidents, I'm sorry, he's pushing it to the edge.
I'm pushing them out
Out of
so
the
I
way.
don't hit them when I hold my next one up.
Were Masons and Eastern Stars. So you see that reflected in some of the plates, in that Eastern Star type thing. And, in this plate that Morgan's going to show you now from James Madison, I didn't realize it till Morgan was here and we saw the Eye of Horus in there. So that tells me not only Mason, but Illuminati. So, and certainly were many rumors that, especially George Washington was Illuminati. So, what do you say? There were also talks that
You got your starburst in there as
that the
well.
starburst is in here, and then I'm trying not to touch it. It's hard not to want to touch, but these are
I dated a girl like that, but
these are also stylized fleur-de-lis, so which also tells us Knights Templar. So there's a lot of different things in this. I do not have a Rutherford B. Hayes plate, but what we have is his ornament. His tells a lot. The sleigh does not touch the ground. Neither do any of the horses. And so they're floating in a star field, as is the White House. His was very telling. One of the things about Rudd Hayes, everybody called him Rudd. One of the things about Rudd Hayes, he's from Ohio, from Fremont, Ohio. He was the first president to be accused of stealing an election. So what can I say? Only in Ohio. So this star that is, on a track to explode is for real on a track to explode. It's the armpit of the star system Orion, and it truly, is going to explode. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's already increased in heat to 100 million degrees more than our sun. So it is on track. They say that it will happen when Earth is in perihelion. Perihelion occurs on January 12th every year. Also on January 12th is the quadrant meteor showers. They are on the 12th of January as well. And so it's hard to, not think of the number 12. And so I kind of wrote out everything that I could find number 12. So what I found was there are 12 months in a year, and there are 12 inches in a foot. There were 12 knights of the Round Table. There are 12 tribes of Israel. A human body has 12 ribs. 12 people carried the Ark of the Covenant. There are 12 zodiac signs. There were 12 titans. So like Zeus and Poseidon, those folks. There were 12 disciples. 12 men walked on the moon. And probably the most disturbing for me was when I saw this was the 12th element was discovered 3 or 4 years ago, the God particle in CERN. Yes, that is dark matter, and that was Higgs boson that discovered that. And dark matter is what's driving that star to go supernova. So it's just like, wow, this is getting creepy. So it's been interesting how I've fallen into all of this just off trying to write what I thought was a make-believe book. It's turning into, something almost more than that, almost bigger than I thought. And,
If she comes up missing,
that's right.
we'll know she was onto something, and I'm removing her from my Facebook page. I'm deleting her email. I never saw her.
So, it's like everything is falling into place almost. And, one of the things I said is finding the location of the access points to enter the code. And of course, when I saw Ark of the Covenant and 12 people, I immediately went to Oak Island. I can't help myself. And when they started Oak Island on the 12th day of January, I just wanted to cry. So at any rate, so there was the Oak Island thing. One of the quotes I saw from Geoffrey of Mammoth, who wrote the first book about King Arthur and Merlin, wrote a blip on the a artist that had done a picture on rock in a stormy sea. I thought, wonder how I find that. And so I typed it, I Googled it, and it came up a image in the Louvre. It was for real. I was like, wait a minute. And you'll never guess what it was. It was the 12 Mohi on Easter Island.
Wow.
I was like, oh, come on. And if you look in the image there of the heads, the number 12 head, there is like a black long triangle box on the bottom of that head. I was like, uh-oh. Okay, yay.
So to me, just listening to her, it's so much like the National Treasure movies where, one thing, oh, well, then that leads to that and that leads to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is the Giza Plateau. Now, I've been lucky enough to actually go to the Giza Plateau, and those pyramids align with the Orion system. They are in complete alignment with Orion, which, okay. And then I heard the other day, okay, I'll confess, I was watching Ancient Aliens, and Giorgio Tsoukalos said that the pyramid in Teotihuacan in Mexico is older than the Giza, or than the pyramids on Giza. And with archaeoastronomy, it aligns with the Orion system. So I was like, okay. And so then I went to the
And those are how old?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm not going to say, because I don't know if I trust Giorgio Tsoukalos. So I mean, that crazy hair, but and because Ancient Aliens is considered entertainment.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked under the covers on that
But they're
one.
actually aligned with
Yes.
with the stars.
So they did astronomy back then. So
I can't find a Starbucks, yet these guys thousands of years ago can align.
Right. Well, then there's the as I was doing research, there is the emperor in China who was buried with a sea of mercury around it that also aligns with the Orion system. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to look at anything else. I forced myself to go ahead and look at the other one that came up in Malta. And that is also aligned with Orion through archaeoastronomy. And all of these are perfect alignments with that star system and the nebula system, the Orion Nebula too. So I didn't plan on that. I thought I was going to have to make up a whole bunch of stuff for this book, but it's not turning out that way. It's especially when we look at like the plates, the Washington plate and that starburst and the gold on there. And gold, being the number one elemental, has reflective abilities. So I would say that the gold has something to do with a reflective part of the planetary defense system, if I was guessing. So, because we're seeing a lot of gold on the plates in the version of a starburst. So, in the two examples we have of these plates are both starburst, they're both gold. So we'll tie that in together and go from there. On Lincoln's Cup, it has the presidential emblem has arrows that point up. That also is an elemental, which it has to do with stars. Just like, I'm gonna quit looking. This is just too much for me. So once I started doing the research for all of this, and with Morgan's help, I thought I had to really look at the president. And like in looking at Washington, there's so much I didn't know. I must have failed history or something, but or I slept through it, I guess. Don't tell our teachers we did that. I hope they're not watching. So Washington, he actually had 3 visitations, not just the one that everyone knows at Valley Forge. He had one prior to that in the Battle of the Monongahela, and in that visitation, she had laid out 3 things that would happen, and that would be he would know the past, he would be able to understand it, and then he would be able to see the future of the United States, which that's well documented too. He got to see the whole map as it unfolded. So and the same thing happened at the Battle of the Monongahela. So the other thing that happened was that he had, when he took his coat off, his mom, Mary, said there were 4 holes in his jacket. He had not one wound on his body. So, yeah, so he was obviously protected so that he could birth this country. So, it's perfect for, the president being sworn in today. So, but yeah, that was interesting. So there was interesting things. The other interesting thing I read about Washington was that they say he was assassinated 2 years into his presidency and replaced by a body double, which had different, and if you look at the body double and you look at Washington, their facial features completely different. I thought, how could we have missed this? But the gentleman who replaced him was actually an aide to him, and he was the head of the German Illuminati. So, that was a little interesting to read. I don't know if it's true or not, but certainly it was out there. It was like the Zachary Taylor plate we have. They're exhuming him because he died 63 days into office from eating cherries. And people were coming in and out of his residence that day. He had all kinds of visitors. There was no Secret Service checking anything. There wasn't Secret Service. And so they believed that arsenic was put on those cherries.
Oh.
And so the first time he was exhumed, there was arsenic in his system. But, that was, I think, in 1921. And they did not have the, capabilities we have of looking at things in detail. So they are talking to re-exhume him and look. So, there are so many different things that, as I was walking through these, trying to get ideas on how to, weave this into the access codes, I learned a lot. And
I'd never heard that George part.
You never?
The double, no.
Yes.
I thought Paul McCartney had all that wrapped up, but George was there first. Where they used the same teeth.
Well, believe it or not, I know everyone thinks his teeth was made of wood. That's what I learned in school.
Yeah, I recently learned differently.
Yes, gold and ivory.
Gold.
Yeah, gold. Again,
like his
gold.
plate.
Like his plate.
Yeah.
So, his points to a lot. Really, it does.
So he had gold on his plate and gold on his plate.
Right. And then the little circle in the middle of the gold means life eternal. So, there's just so much about his plate that points to everything that I'm doing in this book. So I'm on a quest. I hope I can contain it to less than 400 pages. I'm on page 88, and I've just introduced Merlin. So I have a long way to go, and I hope I can I hope I can contain it. That's all I can say. I feel like I'm on National Treasure.
Well, if you can't contain it, we're all for volume 2, volume.
Thank you. There probably will be. So,
It sounds like, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine this being contained.
well,
And
I don't see how it can be, and because I'm trying to keep it so like Morgan and his family and Bev and her family, there's family problems that come up, and in this book, I try to bring, at least from a historical perspective, my other books in case they have not read it. So, like the Blues War. So, in the first part, there's a lot interjected around the Blues War, so people understand. And Bat Masterson is also in this one. So thank goodness, because he brought his pistols with him and had to kill somebody. So that was trying to steal stuff. So Bat's not having any of that. So I did put a bit of that explaining in it. And so now I can get on with it now that I've got all that out of the way.
now that you got the plates, now did you know what the plates looked like before the armed guards delivered them?
They sent me images of what was coming. And so the only thing they forgot to drop in, which was kind of like the most important thing for me besides Washington's plate, is a coin that McKinley and Roosevelt used to help decode private messages sent to them. It is amazing. It's a gold coin with the presidential emblem on it, so the eagle. So maybe next round when I can talk him into it, if I don't break anything, I can get the Washington plate back and the and maybe this Monroe plate. And when we go on tour, we would have those to take with us.
Right. Maybe we should make a dummy plate out of Corel just in case.
A replica. We need a replica.
Like, don't they sell replicas in the gift shop there at the Capitol?
Surely.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been in the
We'll
gift
find
shop.
out.
Right? We'll find out.
If we wear the white gloves like Morgan, we can and we act very careful, like, ooh,
Yeah.
then people will believe it's the real one.
Yes, for sure. You can always tell when it's real because the people are so fanatic, like, oh my God,
Exactly.
Don't put it so close to the edge. So, you get, you're obsessed about it because, they make you sign something that, you've got stuff worth $500,000. Of course, you're going to be careful. So,
very, very careful.
yes, it's been really a life-changing, life-altering event. For me, when I opened that Washington plate and held it in my hand, it was like I cried. I cried. I'm thinking, oh my God, George Washington, who started this country, I'm holding his plate.
I know.
So
He cut down the apple tree. Cherry tree. His wife made the pie, and the pie was on this plate.
Absolutely. And we got the recipe.
Yes.
Now, these are the plates that they would eat regular Sunday dinner, or are these for state dinners? Do you know?
These are state dinner plates. There were back in the 1700s and early 1800s, there was only one set of china. Since I think it was, I want to say Grant, they had two sets. Each set they ordered was 2,500 pieces. Yeah, a lot. So that's a lot.
Two sets. Is that like the ones for company and the ones for everybody?
Ones for, yes. And I didn't ask for the at-home plates.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I could not get Rutherford B. Hayes's or James Garfield. The only thing they would give me was the ornament itself. But the ornament is all telling. Let me just tell you, that's kind of freaky to look at.
It's very funny you say that, because I would think, I mean, if I were in charge of guarding the plates, that the Washington plate would be the one that I wouldn't let out of the building, not the Rutherford B. Hayes plate. Why is
Well,
that?
here's the thing. I'm not sure Rudd had a little dessert plates. These are dessert plates. These are not their dinner plates. So I didn't get the, the good stuff. I got the little dessert plates. So Rudd's wife was called Lemonade Lucy. They didn't have liquor in the White House.
Oh.
It was before Prohibition and no
Yeah.
liquor. But Lemonade Lucy just forbid it. And so they did not have a whole lot of state dinners when he was president. And so remember, they were just coming off Garfield's assassination when he took, or when he became president. So for some reason, they weren't willing to give me the big plate. So the only big plate I got was one of Eisenhower's. So, I wanted to say speaking about Eisenhower, the Majestic 12. It's actually 13, but you don't count the leaders. So it's the Majestic 12, was all about Project Blue Book, UFOs, and aliens. So I was like, oh yeah, what do you know? I thought it was Truman. So I was corrected when I read that. It was Eisenhower who did that. So
And one of the Bushes in on that too?
well, actually, Bush's H.W. Bush, the first president, his daddy was in charge of the Majestic 12. Yes.
Really?
Vernon or whatever his name was, I don't know, I forget. I brushed over that. And that didn't even stick for me until, I started looking at everything and I went, oh, the Bush family, wow. Okay. Because, the first President Bush, H.W., was also head of the CIA before he became president. So it was interesting to pulling all this together, looking at the plates that I did get. Most of them were pre-Civil War. So, they were our founding fathers. The plates I have are mostly founding fathers. So, for volume 2, I'll ask for everything Truman and above.
Yeah.
So,
do you get to request like what's going to be in the box?
I did put in requests. When I put in requests, of course, I asked for Hayes. I did ask for Garfield. I didn't figure there would be much on McKinley because he was assassinated so early on as well. And then Teddy Roosevelt took over. So I asked for those Ohio presidents. And then I asked for Washington. I asked for Jefferson, which his plates are magnificent too. And Zachary Taylor, Monroe. So, and then they threw in ones they thought would go with it. Like I did not ask for, what's his face? Madison's. I did not ask for Madison's plate. They sent me that, and it's a darn good thing because it has the starburst in gold.
It does have this.
Why?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So,
Wow.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited about writing this book, and I'm excited about pulling it all together and giving some nail-biting adventures for his family in the interim while they're out pursuing this. And
Just listening to her about all this, I grow donkey ears. I just feel ignorant.
No.
Now, let me ask you something. If after the book is released, if White House tours to the China room go up, do you get a cut? Is that a thing?
That's it, sure. My book better be in that China room.
Yeah.
And Morgan, I mean, you're inflating him well beyond his. He's loving every minute of this. How does it feel to be so immortalized?
It doesn't take a magician to make me smarter. So anything for me is all the way up.
Yeah. In the book, Merlin touches his head and gives him some the ability to foresee things. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well, right now I foresee we're probably close to the end of this.
There
aren't
we go. Spoken from a true TV
Yes,
guy.
yes. Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you two are just amazing. I cannot wait to read the books and see more dishes. I think that you're going to have to keep expanding because you're going to find out more and more things from those things.
Well, I hope we don't really have a star that's going to explode, but
I mean,
science says yes. So,
and Morgan, this is my very first time having a fictional character actually appear on an interview. This is kind of fun.
Leave it to her.
That never happens. Nobody ever actually brings the protagonist with them
there we
to
go.
interview.
I just hope I can live up to it.
Well,
Hey, now I'm just going to say this, and I know we're running out of time, but I kind of remembered some things about him, and I asked some people about Morgan, and I resoundingly got the same thing. He is witty, he is funny, he is I don't know if I can say that. He's a smart ass. And
In the most loving of ways.
and of course, obviously, and he is kind and generous and definitely compassion.
And now
drives him.
embarrassed.
And stuff. Please.
well, I think he
And so-
absolutely deserves a book series. That's all.
and as Stephanie knows from the previous Forest Guardians, it's like Biddy the Bigfoot. Everybody likes Biddy the Bigfoot, the Bigfoot juvenile. And everyone likes Morgan. Everyone wishes their doctor was like Morgan. So I've heard that so many times as, man, I wish my doctor was like Morgan. I was like, he's fictional. So-
I'm actually seeing people on Tuesdays and Thursdays now. Starting slowly.
Doctor, I just play one in the book.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so great.
There's the gloves.
I did that with a lot of the Woodridge characters in my book. I drew from and tried to make their personality similar to what they are in real life. In case they ever came on an interview, they would shine. So
You can bring your characters on interviews any day.
awesome, thank
And
you.
if you're bringing such fabulous props, I'm down for it today.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And he didn't drop anything. Well, there was that one thing.
I was such a panic. We were opening Reagan's plate. I have a little plate from Reagan and a finger bowl, and I tore the plastic. They had taped down the plastic. I went, oh my God, I tore the plastic. I was like freaking out about I tore the plastic.
Plastic's okay.
Plastic's okay.
After taking you hours to open these things, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, it's been a great time. It really has, and
Well, fabulous, and keep writing. We
I
want
will.
more. Keep writing. We want more. And
Okay.
and if you can keep getting great characters like Morgan and great props like the plates, we're all in.
Okay.
I'll keep inspiring and she can keep writing.
Awesome.
It's a plan. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for joining us, and thank you for the great books.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Covers. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're an author who would be interested in appearing on our show, or perhaps you're a member of a book club, we do host book clubs as well, please visit BetweenTheCoversTV.com. By the way, at BetweenTheCoversTV.com, you can watch past episodes in addition to learning more about our authors and guests. So sign up there if you would like to be a guest on the show yourself. And if you have some books that you would like to get written or published, visit redpenguinbooks.com. Thanks so much for joining us.